Hello and welcome to the final part of our look at preferences here inside Photoshop Elements. In this video we're going to look at the last two panels, which include plugins and type. So let's start with plugins. Now if you're unsure what a plugin actually is, we're basically talking about a small program that's written to add functionality to a host program. So it could be a filter or effect that someone out there has written, and when that is installed into the correct place in Photoshop Elements, it can be used as any other filter or effect. Now generally plugins come with their own install instructions, which will tell you how and where to place it on your hard drive so Elements can see it. I'd advise you follow those instructions. However, sometimes you'll need to create another location to place these plugins into, maybe because you want other applications to access them too, so you'll need to tell Elements where to find them. And you can do that by turning this option on and then locating that folder on your hard drive. Once you have that installed, you should see the directory named right about here instead of the word none. And one quick word of warning: if you're having problems with Elements directly after enabling this additional folder, then it's possibly due to the fact that you have some corrupt or problematic plugins inside that directory. I only say that because I've traced that to be a problem for me in the past. Alright, that's great. Let's click on the next panel for type, and here we have the last 5 options of Elements preferences. The first one, use smart quotes, means that when you're using quotation marks within text, Elements will automatically detect the opening and closing quotation marks and reproduce them on your page, rather than having the same quotation mark for opening and closing quotes. One scenario where you may want this off is when trying to type measurements in the form of inches and feet. If that's not a problem, then leave this on. Show Asian text options allows us to select Japanese, Chinese and Korean formats and options in the text options area when formatting text. I have absolutely no use for this myself, so I'll leave it off as it is by default. If that's going to prove helpful for you, then switch it on. Enable missing glyph protection will help replace a character from your text if that particular character isn't available in the font you're using. So for instance, some fonts won't include a hash, for example. So that will be seen by Photoshop as a missing glyph and will be substituted for the same character in a similar font. Now if you find you're getting loads of crashes when previewing fonts with the type tool, then you may want to try switching this option off. If you're not getting any problems, then I'd recommend leaving it on. Show font names in English is next, and that will present non-Roman font names using their English variation when previewing them with the type tool. I'd suggest leaving this one on. Finally, the font preview size option affects how large or how small the names of fonts are displayed in the options bar when you're using the type tool. So if you have a small screen, then small may be the best option. If you have problems with your eyesight perhaps and you want to have your font previewing a little larger, then you could try the large option, but for most people the medium option is going to be just right. And there we have it, a rundown of all the preferences inside Photoshop Elements. Hopefully that's given you a good understanding of how they all work. Thanks as always for joining me here at freephotoshop.com, and I'll see you back at the Free Photoshop website.